Okay, leading run scorer in all formats of cricket in 2022, but how does she do it? World number 2 in one-day international cricket. Nat Sciver is alongside us, as well as some assistance from Lydia Greenway on both the broadcasting and the coaching front as well. Nat, thanks so much for your time. Form is a weird thing. You're in it at this moment in time. What are the processes that you go through? Do you think about it a great deal, that you're in good touch, or how do you feel?
It's funny because I mean, since last week, the last international game we played was like 3 months ago. So it's sort of a bit disconnected for me anyway, form. So yeah, I'm just happy to be where I am at the minute. But
yeah, you say that because the World Cup you're in absolutely outstanding form, and then last week you've gone and scored an absolutely enormous century in the Test. So with that disparity in time between two, how do you keep on top of your game in that circumstance when there is a gap? Yeah,
I guess technically I feel pretty confident in my ability, and it's just for me it was about just applying it. We obviously had a big gap and we had some time off, and so actually getting back into training and back into batting as well, it felt quite simple for me, so I didn't have to work on anything technically and stuff like that. So yeah, I was able to get back into the nets, although it felt very alien at the start, as it always does when you have time off. It was quite quick to get back into sync. And
the thing is, time was that you didn't play the amount of cricket that these guys do now, and so it's a very difficult thing when there is these enormous gaps to actually try and keep those good things happening when you are in a bit of nick.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I don't know if you find it, Nat, but there's something about when you put that England shirt on, suddenly you just go into this complete different mode. You've probably had some good domestic cricket, obviously in between the World Cup and where we are now, but I wonder if that's the same for you. You get that England shirt on, you turn up to the ground, you're like, these are my processes, this is how I prepare for a game. Is that how you feel?
Yeah, I think I do take a lot from training, and obviously in the build-up we did play some domestic games and things like that. I felt quite scratchy actually whilst playing, and that was my first time back on the pitch since the World Cup. So actually having a chance to get the scratchiness out of the way was probably a positive. But yeah, I think from training I always take confidence from there, and then when I do get to the ground I put my shirt on, I'm walking out to the pitch, I'm not thinking about what I did yesterday, what I've done a week ago or whatever it is. It's about that day and starting again. And I did have to remind myself a little bit of that yesterday, because I'm feeling really good in the nets, and obviously scoring some runs last week. I have to remind myself that I'm not starting again on 169, I'm starting on 0, and yeah, anything can happen on a new day. So
well, that's the situation that you're in today. So you're here today. What are the methods, what are the processes that you do to get yourself in the right frame of mind? So right at the start, prior to going out, your warm-ups, you've got a couple of bats with you there, 2 different bats, one longer than the other. What's first off, what's the process you go through, and what are the purpose of those bats that you've got?
So I actually don't tend to use a shorter bat on the day of a game, but in nets, to get my net going at the start, I would do some drills with the shorter bat, just some generally front foot shots, and a coach is throwing from the crease overarm. But that is generally to get me into the ball, get my legs going, get my head and weight towards the ball as well, which is something that I've not struggled with, but when things go wrong, I can be really upright, and my front leg's very straight. So actually using this, I have to get lower and I have to get into the ball a bit more. So
you go through that, I'm assuming, for your own processes and for your own way of feeling good prior to the start of the match. Did you do something similar?
Yeah, so I did underarms, so similar. I remember, Nat, when you used to hit the ball into the ground when you were having those underarms, and the idea behind that was you wanted to play it as late as possible, so hitting the ball down into the ground. But I think that's moved on now, hasn't it?
Yeah, I guess that's the thing with drills. They do work for you for a time, but it might be you might have to work on something else or whatever it is. So yeah, I've definitely gone through the underarm drills, hitting into the ground, trying to hit under my eyes, which hasn't changed, but I guess the method of doing that has changed, so it's sort of adapted a little bit in that way.
Okay, you've got your short back. We're going to see you use it now. So
Yeah,
I,
let's do it.
unfortunately, I'm going to think now. What do you want? What kind of deliveries do you want?
I would like some front foot deliveries, please.
Some front foot, so half volley sort of length.
Yes.
No pressure, daggers.
Theoretically, this should not be a problem for me. Okay, having bowled 10 years of half volley, so let's have a
No
look.
straight ones either.
Okay, so I'm looking
Nothing on the
sort
leg
of
side.
half volley length just out of that.
Yes,
So
please.
and this is with the short back.
Yeah, with the short back.
Okay, so let's just see how we go here. Oh no, that's a horrible start. Leg
Let's have a
side.
bit more pace on it.
Bit more pace. Okay. Okay, a little bit wider.
Yeah.
Nice.
Almost cut the camera.
We're taking out Lawrence, the cameraman, who's fearing for his life here.
Nat, just one thing I want to ask you is, obviously the idea behind using that short bat is to really bend that front foot, that front knee, isn't it, when you're playing the drive. What about your routine for every single ball? What do you go through before you face a ball in a game?
It's funny because I didn't think I actually had many routines, but then in the test match you got loads of time. I'm like quite fiddly, I'm like looking at my back, looking at my feet, and I guess the main thing for me, I make sure that I do every time, is getting my feet into position and tapping the bat down twice.
Yeah.
And in my head, I sync that with this ball. So that brings me back to facing that ball at a time and being in the present and not thinking about anything that's happened.
So it's like a switch on moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and like a reset. To not think like, oh, I've just missed time one, I've just edged one, or whatever it is, I've missed out on a boundary. I'm just in the moment thinking about that ball.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's.
Let's see if I can get a couple more. They're actually pinging off.
No
this.
short deliveries,
Okay,
daggers.
I'm sure. Leg side short ones. Another wide one.
Here we go.
Been a while. Oh no.
Yeah,
There you go.
nice.
Last one. Oh no, that's a good delivery. That's
Well played, Nat.
Let's do it again.
Nice.
a first.
You give me time to say this ball.
Okay.
Nice. Another question, daggers, can I just jump in? So, one of the questions that we get asked the most when we're out coaching from young girls is when you're waiting to bat, you're obviously nervous. Every young boy or girl wants to know, how do you cope with those nerves? You're next into bat, what do you do?
Yeah, I guess I get a bit of a luxury of not being first into bat every time. So batting at 3, I think it would be quite difficult because you have to be switched on all the time. So at 4, I get to sit down for a little bit without having to focus too much on the game. But obviously, when I am next in, I'm watching the game. I'm, I guess, reading what the bowlers are doing, getting anything off our analyst that is obviously coding the game to see if anything. Any swing or any movement or spin or whatever it is. So trying to get those cues before I do go out there. And then I guess just being switched on but trying to stay relaxed as possible, having a chat with everyone, like trying not to keep it too crickety and too much focus on that. I think when I'm walking out to bat, I intentionally give myself quite a bit of time to get to the crease and walk out slowly, so I'm not rushed. I don't feel like everything's sort of clear in my mind. Which, when obviously high stress, you're under pressure. It's a semi-final or final. Yeah. You've got those other pressures to contend with, other than going out to bat and trying to produce your skill. You've got the pressure of the moment. So I try and take my time the same as I would in any game, coming out to the middle and just making sure that I'm ready in my own time and ready to go.
Having those switch on and switch off moments, absolutely critical, and that's from one of the best in the world. That's how she does it. Nat, thanks so much for your time. I'm Lydia.
No worries.